Hi guys, it's Kelly here and I'm back with another video for Trinity Stamps. Today we are going to be using some new teacher products. I'm using the Influential Teacher. These are the Simply Sentiment teachers. I didn't end up using those. This mini notebook, cool clipboard, the cutout apple, and then this is kind of the star of the show. This is the pencil Slimline die, and we're going to make a shaped card. Little different for me, but I think it came out so cute. So we're going to start with a piece of 8.5 by 7.5 cardstock, and this is going to be our card base. I'm going to score it at 3 3/4 and then fold it over and crease it. We're going to use the frame portion of the Slimline pencil to cut out this card base so that our card is actually shaped. This is so simple. The only little trick to it, to making sure that you have a card base, is kind of like when we were kids and we would cut like snowflakes. You have to make sure you don't cut the fold. And so the same thing is true here. So I'm just creasing that down, and then I'm going to put the frame on, but I'm going to just shimmy it so that the cut edge on the left-hand side on the fold is outside of the fold. So I'm going to line it up and tape it in place so that it doesn't move as I'm running it through my platinum. But I'll show you once I'm done taping it, how it kind of hangs over the edge just a little bit. And we have to obviously maintain that fold to keep the card base. Otherwise, it would just cut through it and then we would have no base. We would just have the frame. So here you can see how it kind of hangs over a little bit, and then I'll show you from the back side as well. It's just that one little cut line that we need to hang over. So now I've run it through, and I'm just going to go ahead and remove my tape. This is going to be the base of the card that we build everything else on top of. Just peeling off my tape. Sometimes that tape, you know what I'm saying. You're crafters, you get it. So now it opens and closes just like a card, but it's shaped like a pencil. How cute is that? Now, normally I don't do shaped cards, but this one, like as soon as I got it, I was like, no, this is too cute. This is too cute to pass up. So I'm going to take the other portion of the pencil and cut it out. This does cut out all the individual pieces. And then in addition to that, I cut out the metal portion above the eraser out of some silver foil. If you don't have silver foil, don't worry. I got a trick I'll show you later for how to do that. I also cut out the little pencil lead. And then this is the apple, the thank you apple cutout, but you don't have to use it as a cutout. I am going to use the whole solid apple as well as the A+ and the pen from the clipboards. And then this cute, I cannot even tell you how much I love this little notebook paper. Like, it just stole my heart. It's so adorable. So now that everything is cut out, and I cut mine out of white cardstock, you obviously could cut them out of colored cardstock. But I am an ink blender. I like lots of dimension. I like being able to add the shading. These are the little blending buddies from Trinity. And so in a previous video, I kind of withheld and was like, hey, this is the first time I've used them. I'm not going to say one way or the other. But now I am going to say one way or the other. You guys, I'm going to have to take out a second mortgage to buy a bunch of more ink blending, guys. Like, these are so good. I don't know why they're so good. I have my suspicions. So first of all, let's talk about what I'm doing. Okay, so I did the tip of the pencil and I used some antique linen and then shaded it with brushed corduroy. For the stem portion, I'm going to color it, or ink blend it, I should say, with brushed corduroy, and then shade it with a little bit of, what did I use? Gathered twigs, I think. And then I'm going to do the other side, the green leaf. Eventually, I'm going to go back in with some Copic markers for these. If you are worried about the colors blending down into your apple, then just do it with the markers or pencils or whatever you have on hand, whatever your coloring medium of choice is. But so here for the leaf, I decided to make it a little bit brighter. I used yellow as my base, and then I shaded it with some mowed lawn to make it green. This is just going to help it kind of pop off, and I will add a little bit more detail. That's the word I want. I'll add a little bit more detail with my Copic markers as well. Okay, now let's talk about these things. Let's talk about these blending buddies. This is, now you guys normally, when I'm blending, I blend twice because I don't like spotchy blending and I want it to be solid. This is one layer. You guys, stop it right now. I don't know if it's because they're like squattier, like the traditional foams that like Ranger originally came out with, but then it has the benefit of the brush bristles. So it's like easier to hold, but then it has the bristles. I don't know, but that's one coat of color. I didn't go back and re-ink it. What you guys saw is what you saw, and it's like a solid piece of cardstock. Like, holy smokes. Love them, love them, love them. But I like to have a lot of colors, so I have to, like, I like to have one for this color and one for this color and one for this color. And I don't mean different colors. I mean in the color families. Like, I like to have a light green, a medium green, and a dark green. So now Eric's going to be like, what do you want for your birthday? And I'm going to be like, 1,000,000 Trinity blending buddies. So I did it mustard seed. I shaded it with fossilized amber, and then went in further and shaded it with brushed corduroy. And I'm putting a little bit of shading at the bottom as well as the sides, because that's where it would tuck into the metal piece and there would naturally be a shadow there. For the this is if you don't have the foil. It's also how I'm going to make my pencil tip look like actual like graphite. I'm going to go in and I'm using hickory smoke, and then I'm going to shade it with some black soot. But then there's like one extra step that you can take to make it look more metallic. That's relatively inexpensive, and I think by now, if you follow my channel, you probably already own it. And that is Perfect Pearls. So Perfect Pearls bond with moisture. So typically, if you're using it on a background or whatever, you would want to spritz it with water. But because we have just freshly inked these and the ink is still wet, there's enough moisture there for the Perfect Pearls to bond with it. Now, I am using the color Perfect Pearl. I know it can be confusing, but I'm just going to take a little bit on a dry paintbrush off the lid, and then I'm going to dust it all over the what I want to be the metal piece, as well as what I want to be the graphite, and then I'll hold it up in the light so that you can see. Like, it's super shimmery and pearly, and it would give that metallic look. So if you don't have foil, don't worry about it. Ultimately, I'm going to use the foil because I do have it. For the eraser, Saltwater Taffy, perfect eraser color. It is the most perfect eraser color. So I'm going in with that. I'm going to shade it with Worn lipstick. There were so many distress inks that I haven't used in so long that I busted out for this card, which is good. It's, helping me to use my products that I already own, which I am totally here for. So I shaded it with the Worn lipstick. If you wanted further shading, you could even go in with a little bit of Candied Apple, just on that edge, but I didn't think it was necessary. Speaking of Candied Apple, this is what I am going to use as the base for my apple. You guys, it's such like densely packed color, and because I really like, this is me, what you see right there is I was crafting with a girlfriend, and I was so in love with how the color was going down, I had to stop in the middle of it and show it to her. I was like, girl, look at this, but like, look. And then she was giving me a hard time because she's like, I don't think I've heard you gush over something like this in a really long time. And I was like, no, you haven't, because I haven't loved something like this in a really long time. But this, fantastic. So good. So I cut out a little pen die cut. I'm going to do that as a red pen. And then I'm also going to do the A+ as red. And again, you could totally cut these out of colored cardstock and it would make your life a little bit easier rather than, kind of chasing around these little die cuts. But I very rarely use colored cardstock. So, it's, to me, this is just normal. So you don't have to necessarily do what I do. You can just do your own thing and it will be cool. So for the shading, I chose fired brick and then some aged mahogany just to give it a little bit of extra dimension. I am, again, because I am me and I cannot stop myself, I have no self-control. Ask anybody who knows me. I am going to go in and do just a little bit more shaping with my Copic markers for this apple, but I'm pretty happy at the end of the day with how this came out. I am going to go back in with the Candied Apple and just kind of blend out that center since my edges got so dark, and then that will be that. And I think at this time, like, we've ink blended everything. So here's where I'm going to go in with my markers. I didn't even notice that one's upside down. It's an R59, y'all. But I'm going to go in and just give the pen some dimension. So when the die cut cuts out, like you can see the separate areas where one would be the tip and one would be the barrel and one would be the cap. So I'm just following along those guidelines and giving it a little bit of shading so that it will have a little bit more shape, so that it will look like a pen with a cap and a tip. Later on, I'm going to go in and add like a little clip, a pen clip to it, because I just felt like it needed something. For the shading of the apple, not really going to do a whole lot. I added a little V at the top and the bottom to give it a little bit more roundness, like how apples look in real life. And then I'm going to just add the lightest little bit of shading around the edge to, again, help create that center highlight. I'm going to blend that out with my other markers. So the R35 you're not really even going to be able to see it, but what the R35 does is it lightens up that R29 and helps it to blend into the ink blending a little bit more than it would otherwise. So that's just to help the blending process. Like I said, at the end of the day, you're not even going to be able to really see it. And then I'm going to use some greens and some browns for the stem area and the leaf area. Now, yes, I know that I am going over red, but here's something that's interesting. I don't know if you know this, but on the color wheel for the complementary colors, if you have two complementary colors, and in this case we do, we have a green and we have a red, and they're opposites on the color wheel, so they're complements. But if you need a deeper, darker color of that color, like let's say we need a deeper, darker red, you can actually shade it with a green. And brown, if you mix complementary colors together, if you mix red and green together, you would get brown. So I'm not worried about putting these colors over the red. You're still going to be able to see them. It's just going to be like a tone. This notebook paper, you guys, is the cutest. It's the cutest little notebook paper. So here I've die cut it out. I'm going to use some Hero Arts inks because that's what I own. So I'm using Mist to stamp down the little blue lines. And then I'm going to use Pale Tomato for the stripe. So let's talk about story time. So we know school's coming. I'm making school cards. We're making back to school cards, y'all. And I feel like summer has just completely flown by. But I had to go school shopping for Peanuts items. And I know I love teachers. I have so much respect for them because they're doing a job that, I would never want to do. I mean, I like teaching, but elementary school kids, that's a hard pass for this mama. So I totally appreciate them. But the supply list is, oh my gosh, it's too much. So, of course, you have to have specific things, specific rulers, specific index cards. I can never find the colored index cards. This is the second year in a row I've had to order them online because my store didn't have them, because they don't want 3.5 by 5 index cards. They want 4 by 6 index cards, and they have to be pink, yellow, green, blue, purple. So, let's talk about this before we move on any further. So this is a new tool. This is from My Sweet Petunia and Tonic, and this is a glue press. I'm not going to get too much into it in this video. I will tell you that I very much liked it, and it's very easy to use. You're going to see here in a second that my son is going to use it basically because mommy had a new toy and he wanted to give it a try. I really enjoyed it. It was so easy to do, like the little pieces parts. We will talk about it in another video, but I'm not going to spend too much time on it. But just in case there was a question, that's what that is. Back to the schooling while we're building this. Also while we're building this, this is the frame. This is not the card base. I just cut another frame to build my pencil on so that it would be a bit sturdier. It's meant to have a white frame, y'all. Just so you know, it's meant to have a frame. Did I pay attention to that? No. And did I line my die cuts up at the tippy top? Yes, I did. Don't worry. I'm just going to trim off the extra white. So when I put it on my card base, the card base is the white trim. Just letting you know, I'm not perfect. This is the first time I put the die cut together, and I just needed a learning curve. No big deal there. So anyway, so I went school supply shopping and I'm trying to find all of the things. I can't find certain things. And like the list doesn't go in the order that the store has them in the order, right? So you're walking around for highlighters, which by the way, he had to have a purple highlighter. Do you know how hard that was to find? Moving on. So you're walking from aisle to aisle, from colored pencils to highlighters to rulers to folders, whichever. But there are certain things like the folders or the notebooks that have to be specific colors. He needed 4 wide ruled 1 subject notebooks: red, yellow, green, and blue. That's what he needed. So I am trying to find red, yellow, green, and blue. Now, Walmart has their own brand. Walmart obviously has more of their own brand than anything else. We have to talk about the apple. You have to heat set it because we're going to do heat embossing on top of it. So because I put down all that ink, and you can emboss with distress inks, you got to make sure it's dry before we do this. Now, you may notice that part of my sentiment is hanging over. That's totally okay. We're going to fix it because that's how we roll. So I treat it with my anti-static tool. I'm going to stamp it down in Versamark and I'm going to heat set it in white. But before I heat set it, there's like this cute, it's super adorable little like swoopy heart at the end, but that doesn't fit on there. So I'm going to just knock it off. I'm literally just going to wipe off that embossing powder. And by the time that this is all said and done, because of Versamark is clear ink, you can't even see where we stamped it and then did not emboss it. Also, the erased, like the end of the D, is what is part of that swoop. So I'm also going to knock off part of that little swoop so that it doesn't go all the way to the edge. I started off with too big of a dry paintbrush. I had to go back in and get a smaller one, but that's how I did it. All right. So anyway, I'm trying to find these notebook. I can find college ruled. I can find the regular Walmart brand, but unfortunately the Walmart brand has done their covers in neons. So it's like neon yellow, neon blue, neon green, which all would be fine. But there is no neon red. It's pink. So that's out. So I'm like digging through these boxes, trying to find exactly what I need. And I'm in the back of one aisle and I can see, on the other side of the aisle, there is one red notebook that's like shoved in the back and partially sticking up. And I'm like, oh man, is this it? Because I could find a 3 subject, I could find a 5 subject, but I could not find, or I could find a college ruled, but not a wide ruled. Here, what I'm doing is I stamped this additionally in black. I'm going to color these little stars so that I can trim them out. It's a lot of fussy cutting, for real. I'm just being honest. And so first of all, if you're going to do this, I colored them so that the lighter edge was always facing the wording. So that way, after I cut them out, I could know how they went back together because I would know that the lighter edge needed to face the writing. So it made it much easier instead of having to twist and turn everything to how they lined up. Yes, I know I missed that star. Don't worry, I'll come back and get it. But if you don't want to do all this fussy cutting, and Lord knows I don't blame you, Trinity Stamps has a gold star embellishment pack that would work perfectly for this and just cover those bad boys up with the embellishments. So anyway, I see this red, like a beacon, I see this red notebook and I'm like, okay, I bet that's my notebook. So now I go around to the other side, but it's all the way on the top shelf and it's all the way in the back. So I'm like moving boxes and I'm about to, try to murder my 40-year-old self by climbing up these shelves. And very thankfully, a nice man was walking by and he was like, can I help you with something? He was just a customer himself. He did not work there. And I was like, I just can't reach that notebook. And he's like, I'll get it for you. And sure enough, it was my 1 subject, red cover, wide ruled notebook. Praise Jesus. We got it. So there were some other things that I couldn't find that I just eventually admitted defeat. And I was like, I'm just going to get them online. But now at this point, everything has been purchased. We just have to label it because we start school next week. Can you believe it? I cannot. So here I'm going to go in, I'm going to glue my stars down. Some of them will overhang my apple, which is no problem. Like, I'm just going to glue them to the apple itself. And then I'll worry about the gluing of the entirety of the piece once I get them all together. If you have watched any of my videos before, you know that I like to glue them down as one full piece. So if I can get everything put together on top, then I'll glue, which is what I will end up doing. I'll glue the apple to the notebook paper, and then I will glue them all as like one little collage to my pencil. So I'm going to put my pencil down and, again, maintain that white frame now that I know there is one, because I was paying good attention the first time around. And so originally my plan was to put the influential teacher, like the sentiment, on the body, the barrel of the pencil, but I liked it so much better on the apple. Isn't it so cute? It's so cute. And this is probably going to be a hand deliver because my items do stick out. But that's okay. Nathan can give it to his teacher on his first day of school. We still don't know who his teacher is. It's supposed to come out today after 4 p.m. So we are hopeful that him and his buddy, he's got a BFF from school, actually, who's coming to spend the night for the first time ever tonight. So we have our first sleepover. I'll let you know how that goes. But we're hoping that they can end up in the same class and stay together. But, if not, we can always hang out on the weekends or whatever. But he's a good kid, and it would be nice for them to be able to stay together since this is our last year of elementary school. Now, if you've been watching my channel for a long time, you probably started watching my channel when I first started it, which was back when he was like 3, and now we're in our last year of elementary school. Oh, my mommy heart. Like, it's going by so fast. Like, I'm so happy for him that he's growing up and, he's such a good, kind person, like, and that he's learning all these different things and becoming I don't even want to call him a young adult. We're not there yet. We're only 10. But like he is just becoming his own person, and he's very independent and he likes doing things himself. And there's still some things obviously that we have to work on, but honestly, I'm an adult and there's some things I still have to work on. So, I'm not too worried about it. But I cannot believe we're in the last year of elementary school and then next year is middle school. But you know what comes with middle school? Busing. Won't that be grand? He would have been, truly, in elementary school, busing is an option here where I live, but because we moved and I open enrolled him, I have to drive him, which is fine. I mean, I've been doing it for this long, but after this year, I'll be done, and he'll catch the bus, and then he'll get to make all new kinds of friends in the neighborhood that he didn't even know lived here, because now they'll all ride the same bus. So here, I'm going to glue the whole thing down flat for my little collage. Love the way that this came out. I think it's so adorable. And I think it's a great, beginning of the year card because it's, encouraging for the teachers who, are just totally underappreciated. God bless them. So the only other thing I did was I went in and added some glitter to the stars. Especially that little gold star on the A+ paper. I thought that the little glitters would be cute, and I just did that with Stardust Stickles. And then remember I told you I couldn't let that little pen go without having a cap. So I went in and I just used a C9. It's a dark gray. You could use black as well, and just gave it like a little pen cap and a little nib at the end. And then that's it. That's the whole thing. So thank you guys so much for joining me. I hope that it inspires you to maybe try a shaped card or maybe make a little encouraging card for your child's teacher this year. I always appreciate your time. Thank you so much, and I will catch you on the next video. Bye.